We've created our user feed component and added functionality to it so we can follow users that we haven't previously followed. Now let's move on to the post feed area. So post feed is a component that's made up of two main components: new post, where we can create new posts, and a post list, which is composed of individual post components. So this is a post component, this is a post component. We'll add the ability to add comments, and the comments area will be its own component. But for now, the two top level components are just new post and post. So we'll head to our post feed. We'll import from the same folder new post as well as post. And we're going to hold on to the state for new post and post primarily here. So in our state object, we'll add a posts array, text for new post, as well as an optional image. And then we'll pass these properties down to where they need to go. And we'll also create the functions that are going to be necessary for both of the components. So for example, first we'll need to add a handle change to update our text and image properties here from new post, which will just be a stateless functional component. So we'll begin and render by destructuring the things that we need. We're going to need classes as well as auth from the props object, and we'll need text and image to pass down to new post. So in our markup, we'll begin with a div class name of classes.root. This will have a typography component, and we will uncomment that up at the top. So we'll have typography. The variant for this will be an h4, the component an h1. We'll align it to center. The color will be primary, and the class name will be classes.title. And I'll have the text post feed, and underneath the text we'll have new post, and eventually we'll add our post list under that, where we map over the post component. So new post is going to receive some props. It's going to need the auth data, text as well as image, and we'll also pass down handle change. So in new post, we'll destructure classes, auth, text, image, and handle change. We'll uncomment our imports, and for our markup, we'll start with a card component, and the class name will be classes.card. Within it we'll have a card header. We'll have an avatar prop, to which we'll pass the avatar component. The source of this will be auth.user.avatar. And a title prop, which is going to hold a typography component, the variant of which is going to be h6 component h2, where we'll interpolate the auth username, and card header will have a class of classes.cardHeader. Under our card header we'll have card content, class name will be classes.cardContent, then a text field. So this is going to be for our post text. The label for it will be add a status. The value will be text, so this will be a controlled input or a controlled component. The name will be text. It'll be multi-lines. It'll have 2 lines. It'll have 2 rows. The placeholder text will be what's on your mind, and then we'll interpolate the auth username. It'll be full width, margin set to normal, on change referencing handle change. The variant will be outlined, and we'll set input label props. We'll set shrink to true so that when we blur away from the text field, the label kind of shrinks to a smaller size. Then we'll have an input for our image. We only want to accept image files for this. The name of it will be image, ID image, so we can reference it with a label. On change will be handle change. Class name classes.input, and the type is file. Now once again we're going to hide our input, so we'll include a label, an HTML4 set to image, and within the label we'll have an icon button that users can click on with an inner icon of add a photo, and the props for icon button will be color set to secondary and component set to span. Then underneath the label we'll have a span where, again, if we want to add an image, we'll be able to display the image name that we've selected, the name of the image that we've selected. So underneath card content we'll have card actions, and this will consist of first a button with the text post, and on card actions we actually want to put a class name of classes.cardActions. This will align the button to the right hand side of our component. So the button itself will have a color of primary, variant, contained. We'll disable the button if we don't have any text. We'll have a class name of classes.submit. And now let's check this out in the browser. We'll make sure that we're uncommenting all of our components. So if we check this out, we should see our title and our auth user displayed here in the header of the card. We have our input. We can click on our add photo button to add an image, and then we have our post button. But since this is a controlled component and we haven't told our handle change how to update the state object, we can try typing in the input, but nothing's going to happen. We're not going to see anything in our component. So the logic that will apply to handle change here will be very similar to what we did for our edit profile component. So we can head to edit profile, go to its handle change, and we can basically copy everything, head back to our post feed, and here the only difference is we're going to have an input with the name of image instead of avatar, and we won't have this create preview image function. We're not going to be previewing the image, so we can just set that to input value, and we're not going to be updating avatar preview. So in fact we can remove this line entirely. So now we can save, and if we reload, we're getting another error because we forgot to create our form data. So in component did mount, you can say this dot user data is equal to new form data. So now we have something to put our image file on, as well as our text. So we can type in our input, and we can add an image. We can see its name, and if we go to our React Dev Tools, we look for post feed. We look at its state. We can see image is updated with the new file, and text with the text that we wrote.